Welcome to the special recap edition of the Influential Personal Brand. I am Rory Vaden. I'm filling in for my wife and CEO, AJ Vaden, and I'm rolling solo on this recap edition, which is cool because I got a chance to meet Paula in person. You know, we spoke at the same event here recently, and she's a new friend, and so it's cool to get a chance to introduce you to her so quickly, and such a high level performer. I mean, in terms of hosting, right? Like, it doesn't get much bigger than being a host on Good Morning America and The View. So I want to just share with you my three biggest takeaways, which I think are pretty clear in the interview, but I specifically want to talk about them as they relate to you as a personal brand. And I think Paula talked about hosting, right? And that was sort of the direction that the interview went, was how to be a great host. And of course, as always, if you haven't listened to the interview, go listen to it. But I think the biggest things that I took away from her interview are really just about you on camera in general. And so that's my first big takeaway, is to be conversational even when you're rehearsed. Be conversational even when you're rehearsed. And this thing that she was talking about, where when you go on camera, because we find that a lot of our clients are struggling with this, is what do I say on camera? What personality am I when I turn the camera on? And social media gives me the ability to reach across the globe instantly, but I still got to turn the camera on and overcome that fear. And when she said, just speak the name out loud of the one person that you're talking to on the other side of that camera, I think that is so powerful and so useful. That is a technique we teach in our Captivating Content event about the secret of writing, is that you don't write to people, you write to person. You pick one person in your life and you write at that person. And she was saying the same thing on camera, which I guess I've never thought about so directly, but hearing her say it, and it's interesting too, right? At that high of a level, that's the kind of simple thing that they're focused on. She's focused on her audience. She's focused on one person that she's trying to serve. And there's a good chance that if you're nervous before you get on camera, you're not thinking about the person you're trying to serve. You're thinking about yourself, right? You're thinking about, is my hair out of place? Do I look good? Do I look weird? Is my face funny? Is there something in my teeth? Is what I'm saying valuable? You're so consumed. It's so easy for us to become consumed with ourselves that we immediately disconnect and lose contact with the person on the other side of the camera. And that simple idea is the difference between everybody in the world, like Sheehan's wall, right? Everybody who's consumed in the noise and the alarming majority, and the few people that break through the wall, even as a host. And so I just thought that was so powerful. And it allows you to be relaxed. It allows you to be comfortable in your own skin, because you're not putting on a facade. You're not acting. You're not even performing. You're not pretending. You're just serving. And if all you have to do is serve, if all you have to do is help, you're not so freaked out about it, right? It's like, maybe this is a silly analogy, but if you go into a soup kitchen, and this is not the same thing, but just if you think about serving at a soup kitchen, you probably don't care so much what you're wearing, and do you have designer clothes on, and is your car clean, and does everybody there know how great your job is? You don't care about any of that stuff. You're just there to help. You're just there to contribute, and you're not worried or afraid of being judged. And that is the power of being focused on your audience. And I think that's the key to being conversational, even when it's rehearsed. So it's you're thinking a little bit about what you're going to say, but you're 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 really just being in the moment of trying to serve. And I think that was my biggest thing, which is a lesson that I feel like I've learned, but always want to be reminded of, but never had really thought of as a host. And it was just powerful for me to go, wow, the biggest hosts in the world are doing the same things that we do as speakers or that we do as authors. And to hear that from Paula was just really incredible. So that was the first thing. The second thing was actually what she talked about that she learned from Whoopi Goldberg, which is this idea of save it for the table. Save it for the table. And what is she talking about there? Well, when they would talk about topics in the pre-meeting before the show of like, which topics are we going to cover? Once they could tell like, oh, this is going to be heated or this is going to be funny or there's a lot of energy or emotion around this topic, let's not talk about it now. Let's save it for the camera. And I think that's so wise. And that's, obviously Whoopi Goldberg has had a very famous career. I don't know, you might have different views about what you think about her views or whatever, but like you can't refute that the woman has been very successful at building a lot of reach and being in TV for a long time and movies and lots of movies. And, so she knows something about that medium. And for her to say something so clearly, like save it for the table, here's how I interpreted that. And here's how I think that applies to you. I think it's easy to over-rehearse. So you can over-rehearse, and what happens when you over-rehearse is you lose the rawness of the emotion when you deliver it on camera, because you're so focused on delivering what you practiced, and you're delivering from a place that you have been practicing rather than delivering from a place of just raw emotion and authenticity and what you're feeling. And so you need to have a little bit of this rehearsal, right? So that you're not just babbling off in a random direction all the time, but you're not just reciting everything verbatim that you've already kind of mapped out. You're allowing the natural evolution of your emotion to come through and to portray how you're really feeling. Save it for the table, which, in the View, that meant save it for the live production, save it for the TV, save it for the cameras. That's what she's saying. And I think the same could be true for you, even as like a speaker, right? Or as a webinar. Like, I think scripts can be good to the extent that they reduce our fear and they give us an idea of what to say. But I think we can over rehearse. I think we can put too much pressure on ourselves to say every single word. And it's not that each individual word is magical. What's magical is the raw human experience. What's magical is you and I connecting as humans. What is magical is you feeling the energy and the emotion and the enthusiasm and the power that when I give you something, this idea will change your life. This product will help. This coaching program will shift your career. And if you're too rehearsed, you don't have it. So save it for the table. In other words, save some of it for the camera. Don't over rehearse. I thought that was just really, really huge and really helpful. And again, hearing it from Whoopi Goldberg, or hearing it in this case, third party through Paula, that was cool. I thought that was pretty cool. It's not like you get to hang out with these people who are on national television so much, just, any day of the week to figure out what they think about it. So that was really good. But my favorite thing about Paula's story was when she said, you've got to be willing to kick down the door and prove yourself. You got to be willing to kick down the door for your dream. And she told a 13-year story of going from this like production assistant earning nothing to being on to like weaseling her way into local TV to and even though she got on camera, she didn't get a raise. She just had more work and more responsibility. And it was a 13-year journey to go from there to Good Morning America. And, you know, you look at her and you go, gosh, she's young because, you know, she looks young, like she's young. But you go, when you hear her story, it's like 13 years. And this drives me bananas because people spend 18 months, 12 months, 6 months trying to launch a business or a personal brand. And they go, you know, it's just not working. I'm not making money fast enough. Like none of this stuff works. I'm overwhelmed. Like, I don't get upset that people get discouraged. Discouraged is a natural part of this. What was frustrating is how improper the expectation is about how soon you would succeed. And it's not that I'm mad at the person that's experiencing this. I have empathy for that person. I have been that person. I am that person. I'm constantly struggling and frustrated with things I'm trying to figure out. Constantly. I'm frustrated with the way that the world operates and that the messages that you're receiving is that, like, if you're not making 6 figures, you know, within the first 6 weeks, you're failing. Or that if you don't have 1 million followers, you're failing. Or if you don't have 100 million downloads on your podcast, you're failing. Or, you know, if you're not flying around in a private jet, you're failing. All of that, first of all, is crap. Like, in terms of you can impact one life today, and that is what matters. And the other thing is, none of those people did it in 6 months. None of them did it in 6 weeks. Like, none of them did it in 6 years. They did it in 10 years, in 15 years, in most cases, 20 years, 25 years. So when you're struggling and you're getting your face kicked in and you're like beat up because you've been at this for 2 years and it's like, it's not happening for you. It is happening. Like, you're doing the right things. You got to stay the course. The question is, the challenge is, are you willing to kick down the door for your dream? Are you willing to sit there and kick and kick and kick and cut and bang and chisel and drive? Like, have you made the resolution? Like, have you actually come to the decision that no matter how long it takes, you're going to be successful? That's the decision I want you to make. That's the commitment I want you to make. That's the place I want you to stand. I don't want you to say, I'm willing to give this a try for 6 months. I'm willing to give this a try for a year. Like, what is try? Like, if you are a mission-driven messenger, if you were called to this profession, you know, of being a personal brand, whatever that looks like for you, whether you're in direct sales or you're an entrepreneur or you're a corporate executive or you're, you know, more of like an influencer, author, speaker, information marketer type, but whatever your personal brand is about, if you have been called to do that, your life will get easier the moment you decide that you will do whatever it takes for as long as it takes for that dream to come true. That's it. Your life will be difficult when you are living in the world of going, yeah, if I get results, I'll stick with this. If I see enough likes, I'll hang in there. And most of that happens on a subconscious level, right? Like, we go for, you know, a year, we go for a year and a half, and we're like, gosh, it's not working. It is working. It's working. It takes time. It takes time to build, you know, the Dubai Tower, the Burj Al Arab. You got to dig deep into the ground before you got to build the foundation. You got to lay the groundwork. And this is the truth of every story. And for me, it was so cool to hear Paula because it's the story of a host, which is not a story that we hear that often. We hear about authors, we hear about speakers, entrepreneurs, information marketers, like all these people we have had here on the podcast, they tell that story. But this is also for a world-class host. And it's just, the more we do these interviews, the more we meet these people, the more we share the stage with them, the more it's like, the truth of success is take the stairs. It was our first book from so many years ago now. Like, it's that simple. Have you made a decision that you're going to kick the door down for your dream? Have you made the commitment that you're going to do whatever it takes, as long as it takes? Now, that doesn't mean you don't have to like keep your day job or have a corporate gig and build something on the side, or start small and work your way up. I mean, it means different things for different people. But if this is what you want, if this is what you feel called to do, you can do it. You can do it. I mean, particularly if it's in the world of personal brands, like, we can teach it to you. Like, we've studied this stuff. We know how to do it. We know the truth of, if there is a shortcut, Brand Builders Group is it. Like, this is all we do. It's what I've spent my personal life, my whole career studying. Like, how do you build your audience and build your reach? So it can be done, but the thing we can't do for you, we can't teach you, is that commitment, that fight, that hunger, that drive, that desire to be scrappy, and to go, you know what, I'm gonna go for 13 years. Whatever it takes. I will take the hits for 13 years to get to where I want to go. So it's like, you know what? Call me after 5. If it's not like, if it's not working, keep doing it for 5 years and then call me and tell me it's not working. Because it is working. It is working. You are building the foundation, but nobody sees the foundation. Right? When you drive around the neighborhood, you're like, wow, that house flew up. No, it didn't. They spent a year doing permits. And then once they got permits and saving money and then finding their architect and their builder, and then they got the plans, and then they finally started digging, and then they laid the foundation, and then they had problems, and then it rained, and then da-da-da-da-da. And then one day you're driving by and you're like, whoa, look at that whole thing is framed. It flew up. Where did that come from? The same is true for you. So just decide that your dream matters. Decide that you're willing to kick down the door. Because if you feel that calling on your heart, we believe that it is there for a reason, that it was divinely placed in you, which means you can't fail. You can't lose. As long as you keep serving and you keep fighting and you keep going. So do that and keep coming back here, hanging out with us in the Influential Personal Brand Podcast. And golly, as soon as you can, if you're not already, get into our coaching program. Let us talk to you every month. Come to our events. We can help you. We can help you reduce the pain. And I hope I get to see you there. If not, hang out here as long as you have to. We love you. And hopefully we get to meet you. But in the meantime, just keep kicking butt and helping people. We'll catch you next time on the Influential Personal Brand.